Welcome to the Sisters of the Moon podcast, conversations about change with wisdom keepers from around the world, mystics who serve as spiritual midwives to support our global family through this time of chaos, crisis, and initiation. I'm your host, Tanishka the Moon Woman, and we're glad you could join us for insights that penetrate the dark, transforming pain into empowerment. We welcome you, your kin, and your ancestors back to the Moon Lodge, the sacred hub of community where we gather to distill our wisdom. Hello.
Hey.
Gosh, what a joy to be sitting here with these two incredible priestesses who have really had an impact on the collective consciousness in these transition times. Welcome to the studio, Rebecca. We're so happy to see you.
Oh,
Yay. Now, everyone, I'm sure, watching this will be already acquainted with both of you and your work, but just in case you aren't, a really quick thumbnail. Rebecca Campbell is an international best-selling author, mystic and spiritual teacher whose oracle decks and books have been translated into over 40 languages. What an impact. What an impact. And Denise Linn, best-selling author of 22 books. Wow. That's a lot. And you've taught healing traditions as long as I've drawn breath, 56 years. Deep bow. So we've got 3 generations of mystic women here on this call. What a blessing. So thank you both of you for saying yes to agreeing to these panel discussions to find, I just know that when I'm in the company of other priestess women, what we bring through is expanded. So I'm thrilled to have you both here. And you've both been on Oprah, which is quite the claim to fame.
So I've not been on the Oprah show. I've only been on the website. So
I see. Still, that's a pretty big deal. Congratulations, both of you. So the topic of conversation is the role of oracle in changing times. But before we get into the meat of the sandwich, sorry, vegans, I'm just going to light a candle and do a quick invocation because this, my friends, is a virtual moon lodge. So I invite you to join me. We're just going to take the gaze inwards and close the eyes for a moment. But let me light this and just welcome into this call the clan mothers who preside over all of women's mysteries, as well as the women of our ancestral lineages that are working with us benevolently at this time. And to all that are tuning in and listening to this, it will be going out the 20th of December, which is the new moon in Sagittarius, the sign of philosophy and the quest for truth, the grail, but also the time when 3i Atlas, our interstellar object, is at its closest approach to our garden planet Gaia, and also the threshold of the solstice. So this is a very auspicious time. So let's just attune for a moment into the one heart in the Anima Mundi, the world soul, and as sisters bring a coherence of our 3 hearts and ask that we serve the collective through this conversation, that whatever needs to be spoken that would most serve the collective at this time come through with grace, ease, and joy. Is there anything else you guys would like to add in terms of a setting of intention?
I would like us to have fun.
Great. Love it. Yes.
Yes, I second that. Let's do that. More fun, more joy, more pleasure.
Yes. Fabulous. All right. Wonderful. Thank you. So the next thing I'm going to ask you to do, I've asked both to bring one of your oracle decks to the call because I'd like you to each consult the deck and pull a card for the collective consciousness for the pub date, for this solstice that we're coming up to. So I'll let you just focus as you handle the cards on that question, and we'll see what comes. Loving it.
That's a good cackle.
Ah. The suspense. It's like the lucky dip when you were little girls. Don't know if you had that. We would have had that, Rebecca, in Australia. The lucky dip.
Lucky dip. Yeah, I love
Right?
it.
Oracle for girls. All right, Denise, you were first to the post, so would you mind sharing the card that you pulled? That
I was so happy with this card. I got the card for joy. And here's a woman, it's under the stars, under the moon, and she's out dancing on the streets, just with this extraordinary sense of joy, and her skirts flying. So, that was right in there with my intention for us to have fun together.
I love it. Dancing in the streets, to quote what back in the 90s, Mick Jagger and dancing in this David Bowie, which of course was an earlier song. Absolutely. So go out and dance in the streets. Whoever is listening to this when this episode finishes, that's what's being asked of us. Rebecca, what did you pull? Lovely?
So I've got my Inner Temple Oracle deck, and I've got a new suit in this deck, which is the polarity suit. So you know how you've got like flipped cards, like reverse?
Inverted,
it's like the polarity meaning. But so based on how you pull it, it's what's facing upwards, which was feminine. So it was masculine, feminine. And to me, I was really moved with what you said earlier around the 3 generations of women and us being in a moon lodge, and also the fun and the play. It's just like, yeah. So for me, it was just like, let's all rest into like us being like in the red tent, or I don't know, somewhere even more playful and fun. But yeah, that felt really, really beautiful. And I mean, like in this card as well, we have all our ancestors around. So it's like with our lineages, we're bringing them. And then there is also an animal on this card, which
Can you hold it up to the camera more?
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, yep, just there.
Oh, it's beautiful, Rebecca.
Can you see? Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm loving the cosmic womb in the middle of the card.
Yeah, exactly. The portal.
Gorgeous.
Ancient grandmothers, ancient grandfathers, but yeah, particularly grandmothers. But we've got this little animal here, which is my animal for play, joy, fun, the dolphin. Oh my gosh. My most spiritual experience I've ever had is swimming with the whales and dolphins. And I feel like I resonate with being a whale, but I need dolphin medicine more. And to me, their joy, their play, their fun. So yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
we'll go
hang
deep,
out
but also
together.
have some fun.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like, given the intensity of what's, playing out as we ride the contractions of the great rebirth, I think laughter is truly the medicine, not to take ourselves seriously, take the process seriously, but laugh at the absurdity of how silly life on earth has become. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, totally. And I think as well, I think I'm feeling like everything is just changing. The rule books that we used to follow, they're completely changing. And I think that what I've been getting is like your pleasure is your power, and like coming back, like I feel like we're integrating all the things that we have learned and taught over the years. And it's like, oh God, no, we really have to embody them in a different way now.
Yeah. For me, likewise, Mapatazzi, it's all about, we're being taken down, but not in a way, but rather get back to her, get back to what's real, get back to your bodies. It's like simplify. So, I mean, I'm seeing a splitting of the two worlds as the Hopi prophesied happening in the next 18 months. I don't know about you two, but that's, just in terms of this 3i Atlas interstellar object, I was meditating yesterday morning on the yoga mat, and I I came to that with gratitude rather than curiosity. And I got this ray, this laser blue ray in through the crown. And then it put like circles of blue light around me. And the message was that it's, if we think about the blue ray, it's preparing us for fifth dimensional Earth. It's here as a helpmate. Have you guys attuned to this object? Have you kind of been feeling into it, getting any downloads? Denise, do you want to have a speak to that?
One of the things that I believe, and no, I'm having trouble with my light. So often when spirit talks to me, lights will flicker. So it's like either it's a defective light or spirit is speaking to me. I'm
confirmation.
But one of the things I believe and know within myself is the greater the darkness, the greater the light. The candle is brighter in the darkest of rooms. And so I feel we are in a time of darkness right now. And it's not just, and if you look in history, you have, plagues in one part of the world, wars in another, but everything now is global. But the opportunity to remember who we are individually and collectively, the opportunity to step into the light, the opportunity to remember why we're here and who we are has never been greater. So I'm excited about what's ahead. And it's also a call to remember what's important.
Well spoken. Rebecca, what's your thoughts, lovely?
I actually haven't done that much like tuning, channeling specifically to it. But, and I think it's because I've been going through quite a big personal process myself. And I don't know if that's connected or whatever, but let me just say what I've noticed in myself and in my communities is things have definitely not been going to plan, but other things have been happening. And for me, deep prayers have been answered, but in completely unexpected ways.
Can you tell us more about that? Because
so I'll tell you like something that I've been experiencing.
Oh, bless you, Denise.
Yeah, so I had real clear guidance of a business decision to make, which I made at the end of last year, and like I don't often go for readings, but like it was like a big decision, so I literally consulted like the top psychics I know and like ones who predicted like my husband with like all these little details and and everyone was like yes, and anytime anyone tunes in, yes, but it's really not gone to plan. But what's happened is through this decision, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my kids and family has completely transformed. I've also discovered that I have ADHD, which seems really freaking obvious. Of course I do. And I've always known that I did. But what has happened, it's been really, really life-changing, to be honest, in a crumbling, like a positive way and also a very challenging way, in that I didn't realize how much I'd been masking. So do you know about the concept of like ADHD in women and how it's different from boys? Yeah. So
speak to that for those that aren't aware.
So those who don't know, it's very common for women to go undiagnosed, right? And I think we're all on the spectrum in some capacity, right? Especially those of us who are uber sensitive and picking up elsewhere, right? And what I have discovered, so I always knew I was on the spectrum, but because I was so on it with like things like showing up on time and like, organizing my life, I doubted that I had it. But what has happened since I've become a mum and my hormones have changed? I'm 44. I'm a mum. My youngest is 2. My oldest is 6. So I'm perimenopause as well. Jeez. And at the same time, I made this big business decision where I was not as in control of the systems and structures of my business. So the way I would control my life and my systems and my sensitive nervous system and all of that, and to be organized, completely fell away while estrogen plummets. And so I'm going from being the good girl and perfection and all of that to like no, and oversensory with young kids. So it's been like this perfect storm. And these, on a personal level, like I've always struggled with a certain level of anxiety, for example, and a certain level of like, I feel like there's something wrong with me. I can't quite work out what it was. And self-compassion has been, I can teach it, but it definitely, in reflection, in brutal honesty, it's been challenging for me at the deep, deep level. However, since I got that diagnosis and I started discovering about masking and how in women we go into, with the estrogen, into the selfless sacrifice, into the hyper, like, you know, I'm going to achieve and I'm going to strive, I realized how hard I've been working to just operate at a normal level. Oh my gosh. And honestly, for the first time in my life, and I didn't realize I wasn't self-compassionate, I have deep compassion for myself. Deep compassion. And I feel like, oh my gosh, like there's this like feminine power within me now that is ready, like it's like ready to come through. So yeah, that's what I've been going through this year.
Bless you. Bless you. It is a red tent, darling. I love that you've just gone blue from the heart, like rip that social mask off.
So do you guys resonate? Like, do you guys?
Oh my God. You know, what I'd like to say in response, if I may, thank you, is that literally the masks are coming off us now. All of our dysfunction, all of our trauma, we can't hide it from ourselves, let alone anybody else. And just like a woman in the transition phase of birth, it's not pretty. It's messy and it's all coming out to be healed. But what you've just spoken to, the last episode, I had Claire Dubois on from Tree Sisters and Kathy Scott from Trailblazery. Similarly, this thing of, hang on a second, I've been pushing myself and the chaos says no. Chaos says you can't operate like that anymore. The feminine says no. And so to me, this is the end game of patriarchy, what we're seeing. And, you know, because everything is interconnected in the quantum field and we're all fractals of the Gaia consciousness, patriarchy is ending with us going, hang on a second, my inner patriarch's been running the show. I've been pushing myself. I've been hard on myself. And what does it look like to not do that? I don't know. Denise, how does that resonate for you?
Well, Rebecca, when you were talking, I remembered potentially a similar transition in my life. I was raised, like so many women, to be nice and to follow the rules and be supportive of others. And in fact, in high school, do you know how they vote on like the most successful, the most whatever? I was the nicest. So I had this I don't know, this trajectory of being nice all the time. And then I got diagnosed with cancer. And when you get a potentially life-threatening diagnosis, for many people and for me, I thought, you know, what is going on? And I went deep inside of that anxiety you talk about and that not taking care of this while taking care of that. And I made a conscious decision, and it's going to sound strange, to be a bitch, and bitch, B-I-T-C-H, you know, being in total control of herself, but to quit being so nice. And I thought, well, I'm going to, on my journey to healing, you know, I'm going to lose most of my friends because they're used to me being nice. They're used to me following the rules. They're used to me taking care of everything and everyone. And what happened was I actually got better friends and more friends. And someone said, oh, thank God, you know, you seem so much more authentic now. And I didn't know I wasn't being authentic, but that choice of being in my power, of being willing to speak my truth, even when it was uncomfortable, even when people didn't like it, but to just stand up and say, this is what's so for me. And when I can get to the point where I can say it without anger and without resentment, just clearly, succinctly, this is what's true for me, people respond to that. And it was a powerful moment for me, understanding that release of you know, all of that stuff, to step into hey, I'm worth it and I'm enough. And, and I can change my mind. I didn't know that you could change your mind. I thought, and I'm a woman of my word. So I think I give my word, I have to keep it. But life changes and it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to take a different shot. And one quick thing, you talked about going to all the psychics, and I've done that a few times in my life. I'm like, what's going on? So I went to this psychic. He was very famous at the time. It was who Rockefeller and Shirley MacLaine were going to. And so he gave me information about the coming year, and like everything was wrong. But what I realized was sometimes they will give you information not based on what is accurate, but on what you need spiritually. Because he'd said, oh, well, you're going to be ill a lot in this coming year. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I was so absolutely certain that I was not going to get sick, and I didn't. So sometimes they tell you what you need to hear at the moment, rather than speaking to the truth of the future. So that's what jumped into my head when you said that.
So interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, if we think about the definition of the word oracle, it's to deliver truth, to speak the truth. I mean, in the ancient world, it was the oracular prophetesses or priestesses that people would, consult, and not just the everyday people, of course, people that were heads of state. And of course, that role has been diminished, to charlatans that do fortune telling at Sideshow Alley, But I know for myself as an oracle, I have taken vows in lifetimes to speak truth. I literally cannot tell a lie. Do you find that with both of you, like that truth is the most sacrosanct sort of value that you have?
Yeah, my problem is I can't hide my face. I was literally in a meeting the other day and someone said, I don't know if you're going to like this, Rebecca. And I'm like, I just turn my camera off.
Funny.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
And
But
this is going to sound really strange, but and I'm hesitant even to say this, but I don't always tell the truth to others. There are times when it's inappropriate in my mind to tell the truth, but my journey is to tell the truth to myself. So if someone says, well, how are you doing, Denise? And my life is sucking, but I can say, hey, it's great, which is a lie. But being conscious that I'm lying is, to me, it's okay, where it used to not be okay, as long as I tell the truth to myself. Yeah, it's kind of sucks right now. Does that make sense? So I don't always tell the truth, but I'm aware of when I don't tell the truth to myself, which I think is essential.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm curious to know how y'all got into this, because I know for myself at Mackay State High School in North Queensland, Australia, my careers guidance officer didn't suggest Oracle as a possible career path. Yeah. Rebecca, how did you stumble upon this? Because didn't you start in advertising?
Yeah, I did. So I stumbled across it. I had a really weird thing happen. I grew up Colliery Plateau Public School. Wait, you know Jane Hardwick Collins, by the way?
Yes.
So we're obviously different generations. We went to the same primary school.
Wow.
How good's that?
Isn't
that amazing? Yeah. I mean, we met in Glastonbury, but yeah, amazing. Anyway, I wish I knew her then. But yeah, so when I was around 14, I think I'd always felt the connection with the unseen. I used to pray. My grandma taught me to pray. So I definitely was in connection with spirit, but it wasn't like something I learned. Like I learned about Mother Mary. I was raised Catholic, but not overly. It was just Christmas and Easter kind of thing. But when I was 14, I had a girls' magazine. Remember Dolly?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And so I was reading Dolly Doctor, what happens to, in sex and all that kind of stuff. And then flicked the page. And there was this article of, you may remember the story, Tanishka, Anna Wood, who died of a drug overdose. She was a teenager, actually, who lived near me. And it was her mother, Angela, who was being interviewed. Her daughter had passed. She'd lost her daughter. And this article had lots of pictures about her, and she was just sharing from her heart, like, you know, tell the people that you love that you love them, and blah, 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 blah. And I read the article, and all night I was weeping. I couldn't explain it. It wasn't an experience I'd had before. I went to school the next day, and I was sitting, it was a Catholic school. I was sitting on the Holy Drive, Mary's Drive, next to my friend Jenny Davitt. And I showed Jenny the magazine, and I'm like, it's really weird. Like, I feel like I've been really upset, and this article has really moved me. And I can't explain it, but I just feel like I need to find the mum and like give her a hug, or like know her, or I don't understand, but I need to, I know I'm going to meet her. And Jenny was like, that is really weird. But then she was like, that woman over there looks like her. And it was her. She was teaching the seniors at my school.
Wow.
And I was just like moved by this force, and I went towards her, and then the deputy principal interrupted me, and I turned around, she was gone. So I was like, okay, fine. Spoke to the deputy principal about whatever, and then turned around, boom, we like ran into each other and fell to the ground. And then we kind of came up like this. I didn't know anything about past lives or soul or mediumship or anything like that, but we had this moment of deep recognition. Wow. She later told me that day she had asked Anna, her daughter, it's my birthday, what's my birthday present? And Anna said, I'll deliver it. And she always said it was me. So we ended up becoming really good friends. I used to go with her. She would speak at school. She was speaking to the seniors. And I would go with her to the schools and just be there. And sometimes she'd get me to talk to the kids too. But yeah, and then she would take me. She took me to my first Hay House event. You were probably teaching there, Denise, in Sydney, Australia. And I remember her whispering to me when a teacher was speaking on stage, and she whispered to me saying, that'll be you up there one day. And so she took me along, and we started studying spirituality, psychic development, and all of that together. So it was a very deep relationship. And anyway, I had a couple of other friends, an abnormal amount of friends at a young age pass away. And I had a similar thing happen with the mothers. And I discovered that while I don't do mediumship like traditionally, it was my initiation into the path. And so I would sit there, and I remember, and I don't advise anyone to do this because I was not trained. I didn't know what I was doing. But looking back, I can see I was sitting with the mothers in grief, and I could be in that state. I was very comfortable in that state, and I would just listen to the story and the grief, and I was entranced by it as well. And I remember imagining like taking the pain away, which I don't know, like it was challenging for me, so I wouldn't like advise it, but it was direct experience. It wasn't something I learned, but that's where it began. And it actually, I'll stop there. But yeah, that's where it began.
Exquisite. Thank you. And just the significance of mentoring, and that role between the spiritual mother and the spiritual daughter, and how, the apprenticeship, because it was a similar path for me, Jennifer Powell. She opened the door to Women's Mysteries, which coincided with me living off grid, having a Kundalini experience, and remembering who I'd been, going back to Mesopotamia. And I used to go to her house and sleep under a huge painting of the Cretan snake goddess and get downloads through the night. Wow. But she was so patient, answering all my questions. And Denise, did you have a role model? Like, how did you find your way to this path? I think I read you had another near-death kind of was it?
Well, it actually goes back before that. And Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing that story. That was profound. And I was just sitting on the edge of my seat to hear what was going to happen next. When I was young, my parents were very, very, very dysfunctional. Very dysfunctional. And it got to, I mean, at one point they thought my mother was physically violent. They thought she might murder me. And so she was put in a mental hospital. My father was sexually abusive to his daughters. It was horrible. So as a result of this horrific childhood, that my brothers and sister and I got schlepped to different relatives across the country. So I was sent to my grandparents 3,000 miles away, who I did not know. But it was the
How old were you?
absolute best. I think maybe I was 8 or 9. And it was 59. It was the best thing that could have happened to me. Because my parents were scientists. They were atheists. They said, if you cannot prove it, it does not exist. So I believed that was the truth. You know, they're your parents. And you know, people say, what do you want to be? I'm like, a scientist, because they were chemists. I wanted to be a scientist. But my grandmother and my grandfather had trained with someone called Manly Hall, who most people haven't heard of, but he was a mystic in his own right. And my grandmother was an astrologer, a numerologist, and she was a tarot card reader. And my father said, okay, I'm sending her to you, but you cannot share any of this. So I ended up staying with her for a few years. And she began to teach me about the tarot cards and numerology and astrology. I don't really know much about astrology, but she talked about it a lot. But here's what she did that I think changed my destiny. She decided I was psychic. I don't know that I was initially psychic, but if your grandmother, who's nice to you after you've come out of hell, tells you you're psychic, okay, grandma, I'm psychic. And then she'd have all of her church lady friends. You know, she was Science of Mind and Unity Church. They would come over, and then my grandmother, all so proud, she goes, my granddaughter, she's psychic. And so I'm like, okay. And then she would do things like she would hide things and say, well, you're psychic, you can find him. Well, I could, but I don't believe it was like innate psychicness as it was my grandmother tells me I'm psychic. So from her, I developed this absolute connection to the tarot cards. And it was the Rider-Waite deck, which, you know, I've created so many oracle cards. But honestly, when I really need the answers, I go back to the deck of my childhood. And every major decision that I've made in life has come from those cards. And there's times when I'm thinking, no, this is not the right direction to go. And I'll pull the cards. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't seem like the right direction, but the cards tell me to go forward. And every single time when I look back, it was the right decision. From the guy I'm married to whether I'll teach in this place to whether I'll take on this project. So that love that she instilled in me and that telling her friends, you know, and I'd hear her in the other room boasting on her psychic granddaughter. But that's what really started. I mean, I did have a pretty profound near-death experience that catapulted me into the realm of energy. But in terms of the oracle cards, that's what started me on my journey. My sweet, sweet grandmother.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
How amazing, like that change in destiny of like you being sent there and
sometimes the darkest things can bring forth when I talked about, you know, the greater the darkness, the greater the light. I had come out of such darkness, and I don't think the effect of my grandmother would have been as dramatic if I'd come out of a really happy family and, you know, ended up living with her for a few years.
It's the contrast, isn't it? We don't know the light unless we've experienced the dark. And yeah, thank you for, you know, because I think we're all being put through our most intense initiation of many lifetimes right now. It's like the finals exam of this procession of the equinoxes, this, you know, 26,500 year cycle. So everyone is doing their own hero's heroine's journey at the moment. And, you know, that chaos does mean that people are wanting answers. They're wanting, you know, hope. They're wanting faith. They're wanting reassurance. And your decks, I don't think you'll ever know your true legacy. You know, how many people are gaining such comfort and insight from what you've disseminated out into the world. So those blessed women that saw you, that really saw you and went, right, I'm going to foster this. I don't know, Rebecca, you and I aren't quite there yet, but Denise, have you, or maybe you have, maybe, well, you are fostering women, you've got a community. I'm just thinking the festival season I was here at in the UK this year, I met a couple of young priestesses and I had this urge to sort of go, God, I want to mentor you, like one-on-one, and not even, it's not about selling you a program or whatever, it's just the give back that had been given to me. Have either of you experienced that, sort of this completion of the circle of paying it forward?
When I was very young, a woman named Stacy Mills, there was something called Rolfing, which is very deep kind of body work. And so maybe this was 50 years ago. And in those days, she was very well known and, famous in her own right. And out of the clear blue, I got a phone call. And she said, I'd like to teach you. And she didn't really know me. And what was interesting is when I went to her door, I had a dream. And in the dream, I'd seen this tall woman with blonde hair. Now, this was before the internet, so you didn't know what anyone looked like. And when the door opened, she was standing there exactly the way I'd seen her in my dream. And I began going over there, and she just started teaching me. And to this day, I don't know how she found me. And I've had a few times in my life when someone just contacted me, a Native American in the Taos Pueblo called me up, and he could barely speak English. And he said he wanted to transfer his information, but the youngsters at that time, this was the Taos Pueblo, they didn't want the old information. They wanted televisions and new things. And so he said, I've been trying to find someone. I'm old. I've been trying to find someone to mentor. And there's no one in my tribe. And I prayed on it in the kiva for a year. So I began, his name was Dancing Feather. So I began going down to Taos to train with him because I had the opportunity to train with these phenomenal people. Periodically, I do the same thing. Just if spirit, but it's not a woman. This time it's a man. And spirit said, you need to call him up. I'm like, you're calling me up? I'm like, yep, I believe in you. I'll do whatever it takes to support you on your journey. Wow. Because it's nice. It's nice to keep that going. And that's very traditional in the ancient times. The elders train the youngers. And, like those teachers that just found me, I didn't, people say, well, how do I find a teacher? That idea of when you're ready, the teacher will appear. I think it is kind of there.
Oh, I love that. And yes, thank you. Because the latest chap who I've taken under my wing, again, male, and my understanding when I sort of came into menopause was that the role of postmenopausal mystic women was to initiate the men into the wisdom of the cycles, into the grail. So this lovely young Irish man who is, I'm sure he was King Cormac, the man that discovered the fountain of, of knowledge, where the salmon of knowledge lived, and that we have a sacred contract to deliver the grail. Rebecca, I'm sure having such beautiful little cherubim in your life right now, you're instilling.
Yeah, I'm not mentoring people right now, but yeah, I am really consciously thinking of how to integrate it all to them, like in a really normal way. I feel like they're definitely teaching me. And I'm definitely, all through my life, I've been, like, my best friends have been grandmothers, like from 16 until now. Like, my bestie is a woman called Binny Dansby. She was there at my daughter's birth, and she actually did the first water birth in America. She's from Texas originally. Yeah. And so she's 86. And so she's 86 she is. She's my bestie. And so, I mean, I suppose like she's just constantly, I mean, she's not my teacher, but there's no one I've learned more from. Like, she transmits every moment of every day. I mean, she taught me the codes of birth, which I think is like everything, right? It's and then I guess like there's probably stuff that I am helping her with, but like I'm definitely not mentoring her, but like my husband and I are helping her with like her business, for example. So like I think there's like exchanges and like that. But yeah, I'm definitely in a different phase of life than you guys, I think.
Hey, I know you're in Glastonbury these days, and you know, if we think about the places where people go to seek the oracle as a pilgrimage, I want to just explore that a little bit. I mean, you know, Delphi, of course, in Greece was one of the most famous places, but you know, here in the UK, people would go to the wells, hence the name Wishing Well, and there would be Grail priestesses that would listen to the water and divine according to the sound of the water. And you know, Rome came and threw dead cattle into sort of, you know, muddy the waters, so to speak, and we lost a lot of that tradition. But with you moving to Glastonbury, Rebecca, has that expanded your gnosis, your ability to tune in?
Completely. Like, interestingly, I got pregnant as soon as I arrived here. It was like we were just picked up and placed here. It was like there was no, like we obviously said yes, at some level, but there was no motive. There was no decision. It just kind of came and then it happened. Like it was mental. We'd had a pilgrimage for winter solstice to Egypt that had been long planned. We went there. Just before going there, we signed for the property at Sarwen actually on that day, and we're like, oh my god, we live in Glastonbury now. This is crazy. So then went to Egypt, had the solstice experience, came back here the day before Christmas, and moved into our place with boxes and stuff, and then basically got pregnant straight away. And so Glastonbury really has been about motherhood for me. I mean, I'd had this life-changing mystical experience a year earlier where I spontaneously went into the center of the earth, was in my Kirtan teacher training, and I experienced the gates of life, like birth and death, and like with a breath, the way that we enter, and then the Great Mother kind of taking us and holding us in her, and then like that. And I connected with who I call the ancient grandmothers of the earth, who are all of our grandmothers. And I heard their unbroken song, and those songs were coming through me too. In some songs were recognizable to some people in the room, others were almost like different languages. And it was like for the first time, I like really saw my ancestral line and the trauma passed down, you know, and how it was like as if the grandmothers and the great mother was saying, I know it's hard here. I know it can be, but it can also be so sweet and ecstatic and beautiful and playful and pleasurable and all of that. It was like really the polarity of the experience. And I came back and received these codes, and it sparked. It was like I'd had a Kundalini awakening experience in 2012. But this one, so that felt like this upward motion. Yeah. This is going back about 8 years, and it's still teaching me. I know it's going to teach me till the day I die, and I'm still trying to understand it. But what seemed to happen from that experience, because I did have a Kundalini for three months after that, it was consistent, but it was different. I spontaneously then re-experienced my own birth. So it was very of the body. It was mother line. It was very birth related, like first breath, you know? And so I had that experience. And then pretty much straight after, it felt like my husband and I got picked up and placed in Glastonbury.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Way that I had my experience, he had his own. And yeah, and it was very, very bizarre. And so it was like Glastonbury has been teaching me ever since. And so Obviously, it was COVID. It was becoming a mum twice over during that time, and physically giving birth. But what I interestingly discovered, I used to lead sacred pilgrimages here. I used to teach in Glastonbury all the time without living here. But once I moved here, it was like the land, the goddess said, no, I'm teaching you now. And I stopped teaching. I taught elsewhere, but this place was like I was learning directly from the land. So it was very much gnosis. And integrating it, like it was a massive descent, like it was down, 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 down. So in the Kundalini was like up, but this felt like it was going the other direction. And I remember the day it was complete. I was driving through the countryside, and I actually was listening to, it was around the time that, remember Sinead O'Connor when she passed recently. And that song, Take Me to Church, was playing, which I love that song. And I had this experience where I almost saw the energy, and I wonder, it felt like the energy was like my power or my soul, but it was basically like me without what had been passed down my line. And it came up and then it went all the way back to the original mother. And it was like what I had been going through during that period. And part of it was like post-birth, and it felt like lots moving through my body, processing through my body. Lots of stories and memories of like my ancestors being taken off the lands from where they were, going on boats to Australia, from Ireland to Scotland to, And it was like I was re-experiencing in the physical matter the clearing of that. And I'm going to be honest, it was brutal. It's the most brutal period I went through, but completely life-changing as well. So that's what Glastonbury has been. And I knew the moment I had that experience, I had with clarity, now we do the Healing the Motherline ceremony. I just freaking knew it. And it's this one ceremony I do. And I've never been more confident to hold energy than that. But it's like, that's like 7 years of physical processing. And then now I'm like, I know the way.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That has been my Glastonbury experience. Yeah. And it's felt
Beautiful.
like no real choice.
And I want to ask Denise about the spirit of place that informs your work where you are. But I'll come back to you, Rebecca, about the Kundalini, because you know, if we think about the Sibyls in ancient Greece, if we think about the Dakinis in both the Buddhist and the Hindu lines that, you know, would go into frenetic states and then bring through truths, I want to come back to that.
Yeah,
so
great.
Let's park that. Denise,
love it.
Where you're living, where are you living? Where are you on the grid?
I live in Northern California, and I live on the side of a mountain, and I can see out the window. There's a lake, and there's mountains, and I live amidst a lot of pine trees. And for me, the place that is hallowed and holy, and it's not far from here, are the redwoods. And some of these trees are over 1,000 years old. And when you walk in that forest, the sense of solitude and power and grace is overwhelming. And I've been in a lot of sacred places around the world, and I think it's unique to the individual. I don't know that there's one place that feeds every soul, but for me, with the redwoods, and they're so tall that the earth beneath them, there's not a lot of plants. It's just soft pine needles and moss. And when you walk and this light just filters down, I mean, it just seems like miles above, but when the light filters down and touches lightly on that forest floor, it's as if you can hear the songs of the ancestors. It's as if you can sense and feel these ancient ones walking alongside you. So that is where I gain my my connection to spirit. And yeah, we had
that chart, tall trees, deep water. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. We have quite a bit of land here, and in 2018 we had a horrific fire, and the fire came up to all four sides of our house, like 100-foot flames. And we were lucky because a whole team of firefighters had kind of moved into our house, and they were defending the fire. And they sent me photographs, if you could believe it, while they were doing this. And most of our neighbors lost their home. And I think my husband said it was because he had defensible space. I think it was the prayers of a lot of people. But in the end, the land was decimated, and there were only all the trees. And I felt this incredible grieving because there's just like blackened stumps sticking up. And in the end, it took a couple of years. We cut down, there were 50,000 trees we cut down, the stumps. But now there are trees that have grown that are like 20 feet tall. And it reminds me of that rejuvenating power, because the devastation where everything was ash, everything was blackened and darkened and dead.
Wow.
And now, I mean, what's that, 7 years later, 20-foot tall trees, and the power of the trees and the rejuvenating power of the trees. So that's where I get my strength. And I do want to mention about Kundalini. I got excited when you said that. A jillion years ago, you get as old as me, everything is a jillion years ago. I had a spontaneous Kundalini experience, and yours sounds so wonderful. Mine was a little uncomfortable. I felt like the top of my head exploded, and I couldn't even talk. And luckily, someone knew a Tibetan Lama, because I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't know about Kundalini experiences. And he said, "Oh, you're just having a Kundalini experience." But what was remarkable was I, at the time, maybe weighed 140, 150. But on the scale, I was 50 pounds. And all my friends started to come over to the house because people had heard about this, and they all wanted to lift me up because I had almost no physical weight to me.
Wow.
And they said, "Oh, let's go over to Denise's and pick her up." And I was like, "You guys are having fun. I am a mess," because it was so hot. It was like there was a fire poker up my spine. But over time, I began to understand what that power was. So to the point that that was brought up about, your experience. Yeah, I'd like to hear more too.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a little bit of research into, the role of Oracle in ancient times. And, Delphi, of course, was originally a temple to the Gaia consciousness. And so, the women, the Pythia priestesses, were the serpentine mouth of Gaia. And I relate to that. Like, I get my guidance from her. She's the one that I kind of look to. And the Grail tradition are those, the dragon lines, which I see are waking up right now. I got directed to 10 countries doing free events in 2023, but it wasn't about the speaking gigs. It was about the private ceremonies that they were sending me to do on the land, waking up those ancient archetypal energies. And now it's like with that Schumann's resonance, with the heartbeat, just, it's like everyone's having a Kundalini awakening, and so to have conversations about how different it can look. But I find, I mean, you might have seen before, I look like I've got Tourette's. My head looks like it's going to roll off. When someone speaks truth, I get this yes. And I think it's because I've got scoliosis. So it's like an S-bend of a toilet. The energy's got to go thunk, 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 thunk. so it looks a bit violent, but it feels fantastic. But what I was going to ask you both, and this is a bit taboo, if I self-pleasure, okay, or if I'm doing an ecstatic trance-inducing practice such as kirtan, so devotional chanting, or 5 rhythms, so, a trance-inducing dance where you're allowing the body to impulse you as to how to move, and you inhabit different emotional states, I will experience the agony and the ecstasy, which clears my channel, and then I will download insights and truths. So I keep, rolling over and recording voice memos, which thanks to the app Notter, I can then transcribe. Do either of you have experiences of that, of going into ecstatic states and then bringing through, downloads? Whoever wants to speak to that. Or not, up to you. How much you choose to share is completely up to you. I know it's
Well, for years I taught erotic massage, and I taught it in the nude. And one of the things I noticed was that people would always say, "This is such a holy experience, and this is so sacred." I'm thinking, no, I'm teaching about sex, and but the way it got translated was that sense of ecstasy. Like when you activate the first chakra, you can activate your life force. And when I worked as a healer for forever, and one of the things I realized is why I was often booked for a year in advance. And one of the things that I realized about why I was so good was I was using that incredible life force energy. People didn't feel like, ooh, she's doing sexy stuff with me. What they felt was life force energy. And that was what I was tapping into, is that power. But I'm just laughing because I'm thinking, okay, a woman's masturbating, and okay, I got to download, and then she starts writing down, masturbating,
it's not so much an interruption, but after the event. Do you know what I mean?
After you've come.
After
Okay.
the event. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because I thought,
yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, how do you just stop? Okay. Gear it up.
No. You ride the dragon until the dragon is spent, and then you download. It's like it clears the channel is what I find, those meridians,
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I mean, like the old Victoria Bitter beer ad in Australia, you can get it dancing. It doesn't have to be, you can get it doing ecstatic chanting, it doesn't have to be through the act of self-pleasure, but through, I suppose, opening yourself completely as a vessel and allowing, that toroidal field for the collapse of the ego then to go into a completely surrendered state. Is that something either of you have experienced on the dance floor, for instance,
Yeah. I mean, I think as well, like I really resonate with the practice of kirtan as well. That definitely just opens up the channel for me. And I've got a funny Kundalini story. So like I was coming out of like my 2012 Kundalini, like living in ecstasy kind of for like about a month period. And at the back end of that, I met my husband. And I remember like trying to like scare him away with my witchiness, because he was like an accountant in banking. I'm like, I've worked too hard to work out who I am. I don't need a guy, that kind of thing. So I'm just like, I am literally only going on a date with someone that I'm going to marry. Like I was serious. And anyway, little did I know that like when he was younger, he had Sabrina the Teenage Witch on as a poster on his bed. So every time I tried to scare him, he was like, whoa. So anyway, I remember inviting him. I was living in a share house because I'd quit my job to write my first book, right?
Amazing.
And so I'm in this London share house. I invite him into my bedroom. He wasn't going to stay over. I also was like, I'm not sleeping with him. I knew I wasn't. I was just like, nope, that's not happening. Anyway, so I like got some chanting music playing, like got the crystals, and he goes over to my altar and he's like, oh, I've had this crystal in my cricket bag for 12 years. I'm like, what? Anyway, so we're like on the bed, we're just kissing, we make out. But out of nowhere, it was like full on, like fully, but just full on, like, and like hours of that, basically. The next day, we did not have sex. But like, it was way more than that, but not. Anyway, the next day he was just like, what the fuck was that? What was that? And I didn't really know, because when you go through your first Kundalini experience, I don't know about you guys. I didn't know what the hell was happening. I had found the word Kundalini, but like it's the inner teacher, right? So it's like it's only meant to be direct. And so I remember like uttering the phrase Kundalini to him. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Kundalini, like not really knowing what it was. And like we Google it. The very next day, he was naming his business. Like this is a banking business. And he, to this day, his business is Kundalini Limited.
Wow, what an origin story for your relationship. It's like two tantrics coming together.
Yeah, that's what it felt
That's
like. That's what it
exquisite.
felt like. Yeah. But
That's
interestingly, and like I haven't like I've only shared this with my close friends I've shared this with, but
Thank
because you guys are so connected to Kundalini and have had your own journey with it, what I've noticed, and you know, I'm in like a sensory overload situation here with like young kids and all of that. But yeah, and also I'm with the ADHD thing that I'm processing now as well. But yeah, my libido has been just like boom, like completely.
Same.
And yeah, and so it's interesting because that has never been the case for me. But this period since the what I would call the downward Kundalini descent, it's really affected that. And you know, I'm yeah, and so I'm curious about that too, and I suspect it'll come back, but also I'm also feeling like I'm meant to be like in my own energy, and there's something about the sensory processing. But I want us to talk about things like this because you can feel
we?
like there's something. Yeah, what the heck?
Thank you for naming that, because you know, in midlife, and I'm, you know, 55 going on 56 this year, it's like same. I got 5 planets in Scorpio. Like you used to say, I could ignite a coma patient with my libido, right? But she's gone to sleep. And it's
Really?
like, okay, that's what it is, you know. But I think it's we're experiencing the yin orgasm, because we only talk about the yang orgasm in our patriarchal culture, which is that raising of the serpents and that showering out of the crown, like the, you know, the explosion of energy. But the higher we go, the more expanded and the deeper we go. So I think perhaps, and I'm only just getting this as you were saying, that as we prepare for what I think will be this prophesied solar event, that blast of plasma of light that's going to take us, you know, from 3D Earth through the heart into fifth dimensional Earth, that we're being prepared by this descent, this cooling, this calming, this humbling, this returning to ourselves, this deep homecoming. So I don't know, does that resonate for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I have been like, yeah, I've been wondering about it, and like what I keep on seeing is like really like I appreciate how you described it as the yang versus the yin. I hadn't had that languaging, but I had like the upward versus the downward, and it felt like it was like the upward was like blasting like this, which almost like it's like it opens it up, it brings the light in, but then that light kind of like touches all the places that need to kind of become unlodged or something. And that felt like what the downward one is. And I feel like I'm just kind of like coming to the surface now. That's all I can share from my experience. But yeah, what do you reckon, Denise?
Yeah, Denise, I'm curious, because I know the clitoris gets bigger with age. So to me, that's a sign that elder women, you know, they're an untapped force. Yeah, it's kind of like the ultimate taboo of patriarchy, that elder women don't have a libido. But I think that's a fallacy. Excuse the.
Well, one of the things that we do in my women's mystery school is we do a yoni cleansing, a cleansing of the womb, and we make smoke. We usually do it outdoors, and we wear red robes, and just kind of with your legs spread, allowing that smoke to come up and symbolically cleansing and healing, because I think as you get older, not only is your own stuff, and we have lots of stuff around sexuality considering our culture, but also when you get older, you begin to take on the karma, the emotions, the experiences of of so many other people too. As part of being an elder is caring for the people. So there's often this very cathartic experience of release and healing of the trauma that's held in the womb. And it can be very, very emotional for women. And literally, it's just, you're just kind of sitting there. Sometimes we have a chair where you sit and the smoke comes up and just kind of symbolically is cleansing. But the imagery that comes up and the feelings and the emotions is so profound. And a lot of the women that come to my mystery school, they're not young women. They're women who have experienced life. They're women who've been, married and divorced and had kids. And there's this, it's like a collective power that begins to be healed with this Yoni healing. Have you done that before?
Beautiful. Oh, yeah. In Bali, where I've been sort of living as part of my nomadic existence, they have the tradition of the Ratu throne, which is the royal throne, where, you smoke the yoni, but also in Morocco, where I've been living, they traditionally burn, oh God, what is it? Oh my goodness. It's the most aphrodisiac smelling wood.
It's not frankincense.
No.
Remember?
Oh God, my menopause brain, it's gone. Oh my goodness, it's like catnip. First time I smelled it, I was in Egypt, and it was just every door opens, kind of like the way absolute rose oil, just every door opens when you inhale it.
Sandalwood,
Back
amber.
to you. I'll put it in the comments. Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Rebecca? Have you
And there's a reason why these
where I was
traditions
going
are
with
done
that.
around the world with women.
But
I
that
think
puts
for
you
me,
into trance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Smoking the yoni too. Go on, love.
I've never done that. I've done like oh my God, now I can't think of the word.
It's like a word game. Menopause, word game.
Hot water which has herbs in it.
Steaming, yoni steaming. There we go. Yeah, we can help each other
We can
out.
finish the sentences. Yeah.
Good.
But I mean, for me, I was always not sure if I wanted to be a mum. I also was petrified of birth and the pain of birth. I did a lot of work when I was pregnant with my son, who was my first. And that's where I met my friend Binny, I was telling you about. And and so I gave birth to my son. He came very, very fast at home. And coincidentally, she now lives in the house and teaches from the room where he was born, which was our old living room. And he was born in caul in his water sack as well.
That's considered so sacred.
Yeah.
He's a special soul.
Yeah, he's definitely one of
Whoa.
us. And because of the caul, he would like pop in and out. So it was quite full on. It was an empowering experience, but it was brutal. But with the kind of like, because of the sac bulging and it kept on going back and forth, I kind of crowned almost a few times, and I really experienced in that. I think this was really the real beginning of where the downward descent began. And I had this experience in the birth through the crowning, where I saw it was like I saw my cells of my body that had these barricades around them of protection, which felt like from my ancestors as well, not just mine. And with the sheer force of him coming, they just like exploded to the ends of the earth, and it felt like I just exploded to the ends of the earth. And I really, really palpably remember being viscerally connected to the wails, the grief, the births, the deaths of all of the women in my line. And yeah, and so it felt like that just like blasted kind of like through me, through my womb, through, yeah. And
Stunning.
with my daughter's birth, it was obviously many years later, after like a lot of that descent period, that felt like the completion of it. And it was a very different birth. It was longer, but it was sweet. It still was like a bit painful. I so believe in a orgasmic, painless birth. I had orgasmic parts to that birth. Like when it was very intimate, her and I, like in front of the fire the night before she came. I was in labor then still. But I remember like her coming down like this golden light. And my husband, he was like, she's here. And then the portal of her coming out. And my wish was that I had a regulated nervous system and she had one. And that wish did come true. And so it was very healing, those two births. So for me, that's been my kind of, I've not smoked my yoni, but maybe I'll try that.
Darling.
But yeah.
Wow. I love that. Hearing you speak, it's, again, that deep reverence for how we are initiated by the earth, but by our bodies. That's the way of the feminine, and the word, when you said I crowned, a few times, I got this image of, you crowned in that moment, like you through the act of birthing, you were crowned, you made that shift, just exquisite. Thank you for sharing such an intimate postcard from your journey. Yeah. Hey, I'm noticing the time. I want to make sure that you've both got time to speak about your offerings, and then we're going to finish with just a shared prayer for the collective. So Denise, would you like to share? I know you've got this, what do you call it? A mystical odyssey coming.
Yes.
Tell us about that and how people can get involved.
Thank you for asking me about that. I'm really excited about it. In numerology, this coming January 1st is very special because it's the first month. And I told you my grandmother was a numerologist. So numerology has been something I've kind of watched through my life. It's the first day, the first month, but also 2026 is a 1 year. So it's really a point, and then also according to the stars as well, a point of new beginnings. And so the things that you do in those first few days of January are really important. So I'm taking people on what I call a mystical odyssey. Every single day for 28 days, there will be, and I will be there, there's a live webinar taking you through a kind of an inner and outer clutter clearing. So we'll be clutter clearing room by room, but also inner clutter clearing those relationships that don't work, traveling back in your past and clearing past lives that are kind of clogging your energy. Every single day, there will be guided journeys, there will be support, there's huge notebooks or workbooks, I guess, that are online. And I'm really excited. It's an online program, and I've done clutter clearing as a 28-day online program before, but this has a whole lot more added, and miracles occur. It's like clutter clearing is modern day alchemy, and when you clear out the stuff, the physical stuff, because every cubic inch of your home is influencing your energy. It's influencing your relationships, your success, your destiny. And when you cleanse and clear that space with space clearing, with feng shui, with clutter clearing, literally it jumpstarts your life. So that's what I'm doing. And that's what
Awesome.
I'm about.
Sounds amazing. I want to do that.
Right? If I had a home.
It's really, really fun. And people will say, and then we talk about the Bhagwan. Here's the abundance area. And people clear the abundance area. Oh my God, I just got a check. And I mean, it seems like mundane. How can that make a difference? But it really does.
Oh,
so is there interaction, like community?
Yeah, we have a fabulous community. People will post before and after, and people post all their miracles, and it's really vital.
Awesome. And I think I said to you in an email, my dear friend Julia, I was having a dinner with friends before I left the south of England. And when I said I was interviewing you, she lit up like a Christmas tree. And she said,
Aw.
your book on sacred space, what's the name of that title?
Sacred Space.
That is the name of it. Oh, good, good.
I mean, I
She just said it's one of her favorite all-time books. So, you know, that people can journey this information with you through online webinars is wonderful. And I have to also say a shout out for your book, Pocket Full of Dreams, that I read when my daughter was very young. And I loaned it to my lovely Indian daycare mum, Mahona, and she kept it. But it is such a good dream book because it goes into the Chinese meridians of the timing of when you have a dream, like whether, you know, waking up at lung meridian or liver meridian, which for those in midlife, you might want to know that if you're waking up at, you know. So wonderful stuff.
It is interesting because a lot of elderly people, myself included, they don't sleep through the night and they wake up during one period, 3 to 5 in the morning. But that's the holiest time of the whole 24-hour cycle. That's the time when it's so much easier to connect to spirit. So I love those kind of dovetailing of things.
Yeah. Stunning.
And that book now it's called Hidden Power of Dreams. It got
okay. Thank you. Good to know.
It got sold with different publishers, and they changed the name. But yeah, Pocket Full of Dreams was the original name a jillion years ago.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. Now, I happen to just see on your website that you've got a 50% off your books and oracle cards.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So
yeah.
I wanted to do a shout out for that before you speak about whatever else you're going to talk about, because as I said, this will be going live 20th of December. And so for anyone watching this going, right, I don't want to go to the shops, like, let's just buy things for people online. That'll be shipped to their door, and you can snuggle.
Yeah, they make good gifts. Oracle decks in particular, I find.
Who doesn't love them?
I know, exactly.
What's your offering, my love?
Think, the thing, if it's coming out December 20th, I've got two things that might be supportive. The first one, which I'm super excited about, is I'm actually doing a winter solstice ceremony called Rebirth here at the town hall in Glastonbury, and we're live streaming it for the first time. So it's a 2-hour ceremony at literally the moment of solstice.
That's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and we'll be working with the Kaliak. And so the first part, we'll be working with Dark Mother Goddesses, basically. Woohoo!
Awesome.
And we'll be clearing as she kind of comes and sweeps away. I have a new chant that I'll be sharing for the first time, which is actually a Kali Dark Mother chant. She'll come in with the flames. And then we'll be doing some winter dreaming with the Kaliak, like tea meditations and just like a deep restorative rest winter dreaming meditation at the end. So so that's that's in person, although it's pretty much sold out now, but online as well. So come along to that. That'll be on my website. Is that
for men and women?
Oh yeah.
Fabulous.
Because men have that feminine energy inside of them anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. Oh my gosh, my husband runs my events, and he's just like, he's in the Kaliak zone right now. So Kaliak
is.
She's like all about the stones and everything. Yeah,
100%. I mean, I'm going to be in Ireland facilitating men through the winter solstice, which was the ancient Holy Grail rite of passage. Because it's because men are ruled by the solar. This is their death and rebirth, and so it was, a postmenopausal Magdalene that would facilitate men through that process. So I've got a Kali costume I've had made up. I've got a girlfriend, she plastered Paris my face, and I'm going to get those red, what do you call them? Contact lenses.
Oh my God.
They're full. Like a Maori haka,
Love it.
So, but I love that you're doing that in Glastonbury, because my message for December was fire up the grid. And doing these ceremonies on the portals, on the ley line sites. This is how we summon and pull together all of our, the stone people, the tree people, because this is for us all to come together now and to be in that unity consciousness. I'm so grateful you're doing that. I'll put a link in the description.
Thank you.
So online tickets are still available, and will they be available right up until?
Yeah, they will be. Yeah, right up until the day. So yeah, 100%. Come along and tune in, and tune in from where you are in the world. Like, hold your part of the grid. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, I'm excited for both of these offerings. All right. Well, I'd now like to just, like a Quaker meeting, we're each going to take it in turns to speak channeled words of intention and invocation for the collective. I've got a track that I composed in GarageBand. There we go. You can hear that. Can you hear that? You've got an uncomfortable.
Must be my speakers. It sounds kind of like static.
It was just the beginning. Now we go. Now we're in. How's that? Can you hear it?
Yeah.
All right. So just sitting so that the chi can flow freely within the spine, just elongating the spine for those of you that are listening. And we just, first of all, give thanks to everybody that's joined this call, both those who are incarnate and those who are unseen but felt. And while we're here gathered, as Yeshua said, when two or more are gathered, we want to make the most of that opportunity by utilizing our power as conduits, the rainbow bridge between heaven and earth, the electrical current of Father Sun and the magnetic current Mother Earth, just feeling our energy field elongating between those two divine celestial spheres, feeling our energy field expanding so we're as tall as the heavens and as wide as the earth. All of us within the world tree, the Kina, tree of the three worlds. And I might go first, just speaking from the heart, what my intention is, my prayer for the collective at the time of the dark moon solstice in December. It's a time of embracing deep within, to sit in the womb and to feel the soft presence of the all. To heal the fear of the dark by knowing that it's the darkness that births the light, and that the dark is the place of pure potential. So we ask that all that serves us, all that will hold a safe container for our rebirth to be felt with grace. Who feels to speak next?
Oh, Askaya. Yaran la Teodora. Adeda la Storia ya. Eskia he, Eskia ya. Aliste Lude Luha. Dohi Yuhi. Dohi Yuhi. From the words of my Cherokee ancestors, we call upon great mystery, great spirit, the Creator, calling upon the ancestors who walked this earth before, calling upon that inner spirit within each of us. For the days ahead, allow us more and more to step into the light. Reveal the light, to be the light, to share the light. To have a gentle, kind acceptance for those in the darkness. May the days ahead be days of beauty, grace, and love. Oh.
Aho. Rebecca.
May this December be a portal in which we rebirth ourselves and we return ourselves back to the pace of the earth, back to the pace of our heart, back to the pace of the mother. So many of us are being crumbled and broken down and humbled. And we are being invited to let the humbling and crumbling happen, to see that as we go through the contractions of this age, that we will be delivered. We will be delivered, like through the delivery room ourselves, reborn anew, ancient and future, and that we are reweaving the threads, and that each of us are actually the threads, and that we are all being invited to remember the thread that we came in here to carry. It is not ours alone to carry, and that do not underestimate the one that you came here to carry. And that for some of us, many of us, just physically being embodied at this moment is enough. And so let the winter you. Don't resist the winter rest. Let the Kaliak wrap you up in her frost and return into her embrace. We can rest now.
Beautiful. And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I kept seeing an image of the center of the mandala, the Vesica Pisces, but with a baby crowning through it, you know, that sacred birthing portal. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that as the image for this sacred time. And oh la la, when you spoke about next year being a 1 year, Denise, we're going to have 7 planets in Aries for the new moon in Aries, the beginning of the solar wheel. That's never happened in history before. So it's this winter solstice for the brothers and sisters in the Northern Hemisphere is the death to precede the birth. So allow it to fall away, allow it to let go and let God. And for our brothers and sisters in the Southern Hemisphere, the time of the longest day and the light, we wish you such expansion, such joy. So thank you both for such a rich and honest conversation. I'm really, it's as rich as a fruitcake, you know. People are going to come back and have another slice, another listen. You know?
You've been eating different fruitcake than we have.
Oh, I got Taurus rising. I'm a hog in a trough. I just love good cake. Yeah. So if I've likened you to cake, I'm just bowing. Yeah, wow, what a nourishing conversation. Thank you for showing up so transparently.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you here back in the Moon Lodge next new moon. Ciao for now. Bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Sisters of the Moon. To receive a notification when it's time to meet again, Click the button to subscribe, and we'll see you here next time we gather in the Moon Lodge. Until then, blessed be your thoughts, words, and deeds under the guiding light of Grandmother Moon.